Oh man. Well, I mean, other than that, I think if we want to start this whole thing off, Troy,
Yeah.
with you giving a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how you came to start Earth Story, what your inspiration is, what you've learned from it, and really anything else that you want to get off your chest, and then we can get the ball rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we rolling already?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so my name's Troy. I started Earth Story April 2017, and just really was inspired by Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown and wanted to create a travel series based on humanity. Apologies for the puppy.
It's fine.
If you can hear him, he's a little crazy. But yeah, just wanted to start a travel series documenting my travels and kind of taking my favorite stories like Lord of the Rings or The Witcher, all these fantasy worlds that I grew up on and fell in love with, and kind of bring those elements into an actual physical journey. So I've been doing
Mm.
that for about uh, let's see, that would be almost four years now, or 4 years in April, and no plans on stopping. No plans on stopping at all.
Yeah, please don't, because your films are amazing, man. And
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
I can see why, because when I'm watching, I'm like, these are so cinematic, like they're very movie like, like very dramatic. So I
Thank
can.
you.
So do you like get inspiration from these blockbuster movies and kind of like try to put that into your video, your essence of your video, like the one you just put out, was it yesterday with Black Sails that you incorporated into it?
Oh yeah, nice. You saw that.
Yeah, like that was great,
Awesome.
man. I thought that was just like you have a knack for editing. So yeah, definitely
Thank you,
please don't
bro.
stop.
Yeah, yeah. I
Awesome.
don't plan on it. Yeah, I mean, I told myself like even if I get zero subscribers for like the rest of my life, I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing this.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's what it's
totally.
about.
Yeah, to answer like your first question, movies and games, and I mean like everything inspires me, but most especially, pirates and wizards and
Yeah, the fun stuff.
elves and rangers, because like I really wanted to figure out a way to bring mythology and like the hero's journey to real life. So yeah, the series is definitely like over dramatized. Like I try to make everything epic, but then balance it out with some humor, and then also
Mm,
some like humanitarian documentaries where like I'm not part of it, but I
hmm.
guess the audience kind of knows like, well, it's still Troy filming this, so they kind of consider it as like part of the adventure.
Mm,
Because I
I know
got
what you
really,
mean.
yeah, I got really well, I mean, I just got so inspired by other YouTubers. Like in that pirate episode, for those who haven't watched, I sailed with Dylan McGaster, who is a tiny house and van life YouTuber, and I started watching him before I even started traveling. So that was like a really crazy full circle to like live with him on his sailboat for 2 months and sail the Mediterranean. And I got so inspired by like just the YouTube community in general, and I guess like the online creator community, this like free market, entirely like no gatekeeper, new
Hmm.
kind of media world we find ourselves in. And I'm like this is big, and it's so amazing to see just like unbridled creativity. And I
Mm.
wanted to figure out a way to like marry my love of cinema, and I went to film school, so take that knowledge and then put it together with vlogs basically, and YouTube stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what's awesome about the time that we're alive in, is if you really want to do something, you can do it. Like there's
Yeah.
really nobody stopping you in, living in the Western world, America, the free world, quote unquote. It's like if you have a dream and you have the right skills, nobody's stopping you. You can, like, if you, so what was your inspiration to starting this whole thing? Like you just were watching other people do and you said, wait a sec, I can do that too.
Yeah, I think it was like a culmination of a lot of different things. I was like about a semester away from graduating college, and I was going for like a film and finance degree. And I was like done with film, semester away from finishing finance. I was like really good at investing and had like a pretty sweet job at the time. And I was like, damn, like I mean, I can technically like buy most things that I want, but I'm like not really happy, and like I don't really understand why. And then watched Anthony Bourdain's show, started watching some travel YouTubers, took some of my own trips. And I think I went to Sedona. That was like my first solo trip that I went somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just got bit with the travel bug. Like all of my resources went into like 2 backpacking trips through Europe that year, and then just I was on the last night of the second one. I was sitting in my on my bed in my hostel room in Budapest, and I was like, man, how do I make this a full-time lifestyle? Because as it stands, like, doing the Euro trip backpacking thing is a little expensive. And I saw a couple of van life videos, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get a van and just travel for as long as I can, experience this crazy, crazy world that I thought I knew. I thought I was like some important person in this world when I was just living my normal life in Vegas. And I was like, nah, man, I don't really know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And even just like the next town over is so vastly different. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just endless. And I kind of got got lost in the curiosity of just seeing what's out there.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you think it like one of the biggest things it gave you is like a perspective on how small you are in this world and how many people there are and how many different situations and what your place is, kind of like humbling, like a humbling experience.
Yeah. Super humbling. Very, very humbling. Especially like when I don't know, like I went to mostly cities in Europe, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I've, been in London for 4 days or whatever, but like, I don't know anything about this place. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can say I saw it, but like, if you were to ask me today, I'd be like, no, I have no idea what England is like. I barely know what London is like. And so I think it was that realization that I was like, okay, no matter how long I travel, I'm never going to be able to fully know a place. And so I better get started now and just do, see as much as I can and talk to people and understand where I'm at, uh, wherever I'm going, to just get a feel of like the heart and soul of so many cities that are like legendary, like such history and art and culture and everything.
Mm.
And there's so many places in the world.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, it
Mind blowing
really
how big
is.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just too big. There's just too, it really is. There's just too many people in the world. There's just
Yeah.
too many places, and it's just to even, because can you imagine like traveling to every single metropolis on Earth? It's just, there's too many to even keep up with. Like, how could you even conceptualize that? It's just like, how many different countries have you been to, would you say?
Um, I mean, if we're going just purely off of numbers and not intimacy here, um, I think maybe around like 25. I think 25 at the high end and like
That's a good number.
18 at the low end.
I would say that's a decent number, more than most people. But compare that to the amount of like places that you can actually go in the world. That's actually nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. Like I've seen like 0.01% of like even France, just like walking around the streets of Paris is like,
Yeah, it's
that's
still
not
more than
France.
most people. Yeah,
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a lot more than most people. I'm like crazy, crazy grateful that, I get the opportunities to do this.
hmm. Do
Yeah.
you think it gave you like a sense of purpose? Like, what is your reasoning for wanting to do this? You think deep down?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if no, that wasn't in the Earth Story episode. It was in an Instagram post. And pretty much my whole life, like up until 23 or 24, when I was about to graduate college, I was like terrified. I had no idea what my purpose was. I picked a couple surface level purposes that I thought like, okay, this is really important to me. But I mean, it was always just to like escape the fact that I really didn't know. And then, yeah, after like that trifecta of events, being inspired by YouTube, traveling for the first time, and watching Bourdain's Parts Unknown show, I was like, okay, like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Mm.
No, like hands down, no questions asked. And so yeah, I think it was like discovering a pathway to the world of cinema and like why I loved it, rather than like slaving away in LA as like an actor or a screenwriter, which was my plan. And then I was like, oh, like I can do acting, writing, directing, costume design, set design, cinematography, like all the roles with a YouTube channel. And you can build a really good following and build a pretty decent living. And like I got to have a hand in all these different parts. So yeah, it was definitely like finding that that path of like, man, what do I love the most, and like what do I really really want to do,
Mm,
for the next 50 years, 100 years or whatever, and that was
mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Mm. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like you're living the life.
I think so. I feel very lucky. Yeah, I feel like incredibly blessed to be able to do exactly what I want to do, every single day, like every minute of the day. And
Mm,
that was like the biggest goal for 2021 and 2020. And man, I write every single day in like a morning journal, and every day I'm like, damn it, like I cannot believe that I get to just spend every second of my day like pursuing the things that I want most, and I don't have to do anything that I, in my mind, think of as useless to my path.
that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have that feeling if you were still, what would you say? You were like a financial advisor or something?
I was doing like investing, and I was a
Oh,
finance major, so
yeah.
I was gonna go into like, yeah, financial advising basically.
You probably have
And
a lot more money, but I don't think you'd be
yeah.
happier. Like, you
No,
wouldn't have that
definitely not.
fulfillment.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I don't know what would have happened, but I definitely would not have been a happy camper after 10 years, 20 years.
Mm.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I think a lot of happiness comes from us exploring our creativity, like our innate creativity that I think everybody has in life. Personally, I mean, we all
Yeah.
different aspects. Like some people are, absolutely insanely creative, and some people may be creative in like painting a picture or doing film or making music, whatever it is, and just different facets of it. But just the simple fact of just exploring our own creativity, it does something for the soul. It just does something for us, our whole being. And if you can do that while also making it like literally your life, hey man, like it's a great life, it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I heard this really interesting thing recently where somebody was like, creative, like there are no creative people. Like everybody's creative. It's an emotion that you feel. It's an emotion like happiness or anger, because creativity doesn't mean you gotta pick up a paintbrush and paint a picture. It's like
Hmm.
it's a muscle and it's an emotion, and it's definitely something that, I mean, I know how much happiness it brings to me, and so I think if everybody just exercised their creativity muscle in whatever way they wanted. Yeah, it's I mean, I think it relates most back to like play. Like when we're kids, we're running around and we have like our imagination is just firing on all cylinders, and we can have fun with a pile of dirt and a couple sticks, and suddenly we're like knights defending a castle.
Hmm.
And like to me, like that's creativity, and that's also like the reason I wanted to pursue Earth Story, was because I just like I missed that feeling as a kid, and I wanted to chase that again.
Like a sense of exploration and like innocence in a way.
Yeah, yeah, totally, most definitely, and like traveling the world and exploring the really complex situations that I can find myself in. It's like obviously it requires a certain degree of maturity, but I think there's a lot to be said about a world that's also lost its inner child, as for the most part, or in certain ways as a
Mm.
whole. And so like exploring the world in like those two kind of realms of thought has, yeah, I love it. I mean, it seems to have been effective
Mm.
so far. At least I hope I'm like pioneering some decent formula. We'll see in 20 years, I suppose.
No, I think you definitely, it's already shown, man. It doesn't have to
Thank
be
you,
20
dude.
years. It's this yeah, it's like you pretty much created your own niche travel channel in a way. You know what I mean? It's just like a
Huh.
cinematic, like it's just like a, I don't know. You know how like you put on the Travel Channel and you see like the Anthony Bourdain. That's you. This is the 21st century Anthony Bourdain. Like, you know what I mean? This is
Ooh,
2021.
wow. Jeez.
Pretty much, just in like in a
Thank you
different
so
light.
much.
For
Yeah,
real.
totally. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so heavily inspired by him. And thank you, bro. That's the biggest compliment to me. I'm always, it's funny, like I always have like the angel and the devil on my shoulder, and they're both Anthony Bourdain. Like I'm always like, it's usually the devil that's speaking, and he's always saying something like, you motherfucker, you better eat that if you don't want to, and you better show your gratitude for it to the people that are serving you right now.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's a big inspiration.
R.I.P. to Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, rest in peace, man. Rest in peace. Dude was a legend. influenced so many people. And yeah, I mean, he's the only reason I got out and into the world. And God, my first trip, I was like New York City, and I was just terrified I was gonna get mugged the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man. So what have you, all right, so you've traveled to 20 something countries and spoken to probably many, many people from all over the world. What do you think you've learned most about human beings? Like, what are some important lessons that you've learned from your travels and your experiences with other people?
Yeah. I guess like number one is that if you are taking the initiative, like you're always gonna run into a good person.
Mm,
I mean, like when you're traveling, there are like travel scams in a lot of different varieties, or something you have to watch out for. But if you're just being friendly and open and like talking to people first, God, it's just like pure magic that comes out of those moments.
there's
I've
good
like,
people everywhere.
yeah, I mean, I would say like 99.9% of people are good people, and the only time you have to be a little wary is at like train stations and airports, and if somebody comes up to you directly. But like, once you're out of that zone, you're solid. Like everyone is so kind and so ready to show you their city, their culture, their family. Like I've slept at, I think, like two or three strangers' houses after like meeting them, I don't know, an hour ago, and then suddenly I'm like spending the night at their house, and then the next day we're like soul family. And it's just
Mm,
really crazy to see how, I don't know, just how amazing humans are, like all over the world. And it doesn't really matter where you go. Like there's so many good people who have incredible stories that, man, I could just like listen to people talk all day long and know that I wouldn't even get like a tiny fraction of the joy and wisdom that's out there.
mm. That's great, man. Because you're not gonna get that story when you put it on the news.
No, 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 not usually, not usually. And it's much better lived always, right? Like
Yeah.
any experience you go through, like that's kind of funny. Like I have this thought all the time with this series. I'm like, man, like I'm expressing maybe 1% of how incredible my travels were. And I'm like, like, you're never going to be able to do it justice with video. Like it can be spectacular, like a really spectacular video, but it'll never equate to like what the experience was like in real life. And that's why it's so cool to see people like message me on Instagram like, hey, like I watched your channel a year ago and you inspired me to travel, and now I've been like hitchhiking across Canada for the
Hmm.
past 2 years. I've made so many best friends and done this and this and this. I'm like, holy shit, like, like
Yeah.
you've done more than I have. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that's what it's really about. It's just like the snowball effect of positive energy. That it's the same idea of like you and Anthony Bourdain. Well, you're going to be the Anthony Bourdain to other people, and then the other people are going to be you. You know what I mean? It's just like this
Yeah.
thing that just keeps going and going, and it's just like you can't stop the positive energy flow. It's an amazing thing, you know. It's because like you said, you don't care about if nobody watches the videos, but there are going to be people that watch the videos and that are going to be and have been inspired by what you
Yeah.
do. And that's like you can't put a price tag on that or anything. That for literally changing somebody's life and having them live a different way, and then it branches out with them. And like I said, it's just like a positive virus that you spread. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Happiness virus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No,
the real
just
virus we want.
yeah. Totally exponential. I
Yeah.
think it was like Einstein that said, like the exponential whatever nature is like one of the things that humans have the hardest time understanding, but it's like the most powerful force in the universe. And it's totally true, and like that's why stuff like this, like being able to be like, hey, let's do a podcast, let's do it.
Hmm.
And if we're getting in front of like one person or 10 or whatever, like everything is just instantly accessible.
Hmm.
And whatever you want to make, like you were saying, you can do it. And it
Seriously.
affects so many people.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's incredible. I watched a couple of your episodes. First, I just wanted to say, like, man, you're so good at making people feel comfortable and open, and just like your replies to people are so eloquent and well thought out. So I wanted to say, like, I appreciate that about your work. But when did you start?
This whole like podcast.
Yeah.
Um, Probably only like 3-4 months ago.
Okay.
Not long ago at all. But I just had the inspiration one day because I was in a yoga teacher training class over Zoom, and because we couldn't meet because of the pandemic, and then I was talking to this guy, and I was like I was asking him questions, like he was the teacher, and I was asking him questions, and I was like, wait, seems like an interview, in the way that I'm kind of asking him. I was like, wait a second, I can just do
Huh.
this myself and just reach out to people and just conduct my own interviews, and here we are.
Yeah.
It's cool, like how just like life turns out sometimes. It's just like um just kind of fall into things, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what happened with me. I was like, oh, this is working, this is cool.
Yeah. You
And
just had that
honestly,
spark and followed it.
yeah, exactly, man. And I'm just doing it at this point, as a experience for like the same thing. I don't care if anybody really watches. I hope people are listening and watching. That's
Yeah.
great. And I appreciate that anybody that is. But at the end of the day, I just really wanted to have a conversation with you and kind of get to know you because you seem like a cool guy. And then if I
Yeah.
keep that laid back, like it's like not informal kind of style, then I think that's like a formula that is can work. It's just something that is just it's essentially, I kind of frame it like for me, and if anybody wants to join me along on the journey, they can join me.
I
It's
like that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what you're doing too, right? Just in a different manner.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, like definitely the old ways of doing media are not, I wouldn't say dead, but like they have to change. And like now there's a whole spectrum. But I saw this really interesting video from Yes Theory. I don't know if you're
No, I don't know them.
you've seen their channel, but I mean, they're pretty large. They've got like 4 or 5 million, and they're doing like, I mean, like really like shaky handheld footage, but it's like interesting content. And they covered this town where there was like 3 or 4 alien abductions,
Oh,
and Netflix did an entire like, I think, hour-and-a-half documentary. But when Yes Theory went in, they went in with like a group of their homies. It was like 3 or 4 of them. They all had cameras, but they're like holding them, at chest level, really just not caring about, getting the perfect shot or anything like that, but really just talking to the person. And the amount of emotion, stories, and just like overall happiness that like these people who were abducted, that they brought to the Yes Theory videos. They were like, wow, this is incredible. Like Netflix was here, but like we're telling you guys so much more. And like we really feel like, you came here as friends.
mm,
And yeah, there's just so much power in striking that balance, which is kind of like what I'm also trying to figure out with the YouTube channel, because I do love making things exceptionally cinematic and as beautiful as possible. But you do lose something when there's a massive crew and gaffers and lighting people and a sound guy and a massive camera. Like,
mm-hmm.
you lose something in the middle,
Yeah.
and that's been really interesting to see and to like explore on the
Mm-hmm.
series.
I think what you lose with that is authenticity. When you have
Yeah.
all the like that equipment and you're just trying to set up the perfect shot, and just like just too much going on. Like when it's just you and a camera just trying to create a story and talk to people, or just show something simple, and it's just literally just your vision and not anybody else's. That's authentic. Like, and it's something that you just want to make. And I think that's something that people really want to see. That's what I want to see. At least I want to see something that's real and authentic.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with over editing. I don't think your videos are over edited. It's just I don't think there's. I think that's cool. Like that doesn't make it less authentic because it's still your formula. You know what I mean? It's still your
Hmm.
thing, and it's like it's still authentic. Like it's real, and like the clips that you include are authentic in it. You know what I mean? And so I don't think there's anything. I know what you mean. Like you have to ride the line between like too much, but I don't think you're on that at all. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you have that good formula going, which whatever it is, I don't know what it is, the Troy Ozuna formula.
Troy's in a formula. Yeah. No, well, I mean, I think what I've realized with everything, it's like everything's kind of on a spectrum, like sexuality, political views,
Hmm.
and like this same thing too, like film studio, multi-million-dollar stuff, and somebody recording something with a cell phone.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's been like really cool to explore that spectrum.
Yeah, that's the new wave. Is just like like I said, you can do whatever you want. You could literally travel, like do what you're doing with a cell phone. Like you don't need equipment. You could like if you, there's so much possibility that people have nowadays with just a phone. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's so
really
crazy.
insane. It's
Yeah.
what a time to be alive. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
Like you could literally do whatever you want. And I mean, TikTok is such a great example of that. And like, I don't know, I'll riff about technology and history and art and philosophy. Like I said, I'm inspired by it all, but it's really cool to see TikTok blow up, and you have people creating such huge platforms that they can, pay for a house
Yeah.
by just recording videos. I think there's this one lady in China that just like records people with great fashion, but she sits on a bench for an hour, records, and she'll put together the best ones. I think does like
Hmm.
one a day, and that's her job. Or there's another dude in New York who like will see somebody on the subway, do a sketch of them, give it to them, and like these people are building massive,
It's
massive
crazy.
platforms
It's
off of anything.
craziness. If you're creative enough and you think there's a niche that you can fill, just go for it. Because like those
Mhm.
things that you just told me right there, I would have never thought in a million years
Right?
that
Yeah.
that is possible. But then when you say it and actually like you explain to me that it's working, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But if there's, I think like those things come to each individual. Like there's a certain inspiration in each individual where you can either listen to your intuition and go with your gut and follow your dreams or whatever that is, maybe sketching random strangers or whatever your niche is. I think it's important, like we talked about before, to explore your creativity, because now is the time. The 2021 is, it's like if you there like we talked about, man, there's like no boundaries. You can do it if you really have it in you, in your gut. Just do it. Just try it. And it's
Yeah.
okay to fail. I think that the problem is people are afraid to fail, but it's okay. That's how we learn and that's how we grow. Because I can imagine you've taken some L's in your life, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
taken
Lots of
plenty
them.
of L's too,
Yeah.
but like that's what makes the W's even better. Is you have to take the L's. You have to, and from if you don't, but they don't. I don't even think they're L's.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
just
either.
they're just learning experiences. They're only L's if you don't learn from them. And
Yeah.
then from there, you use that and create a beautiful life. You just can't be afraid, man. Fear holds people back. It really does.
Yeah. And it's not about like getting rid of the fear either. Like
Hmm.
before every single video, I'm like sweating and like anxious to even touch my computer. And I'll like go cry for like 10 minutes. I'm like, all right, just like let's get to it. Let's put together all these crazy amount of clips and let's just get to it.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean like kind of with everything in life, I'm like, all right, like the fear is gonna be there, but I know what the feeling is like on the other side of that, and that's way more important.
Yeah,
It's like getting to the other
exactly.
side of it is so exhilarating, and
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I've been trying to focus on in the past few years. Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
you either win or get learnt.
exactly, that's good. So was there something that acted as a catalyst that enabled you to want to change up your life and not live the quote unquote normal life? Like, was there just like a wake up call, an awakening, some kind of enlightenment where you're like, this isn't for me. I want to do this Earth story.
Yeah, I mean,
Or
besides
was it
all
like
the
a
ones that
gradual process?
it was like a process of discovery. But I think the first thing that made me question it, I was that was that like I said, I was had a really great job at a show in Vegas. I was like doing camera work, but it was like mind-numbingly easy. I was like on my phone on Instagram, and I just like memorized where everything was. So I was like not challenging myself at all, but I thought I was the shit because I was like making a lot of money, and I was like also partying a lot in college, and it was like approaching 6 months from graduation, and I just found myself getting like having to step outside 5, 10 times during a party, like, and I'm like breathing, I'm like heavily, I'm like what is going on? Like usually I'm like loving this, talking to everybody, pretending to be cool, and I just had this moment where things started to just get turned on their head, and
Mm,
I just wasn't comfortable anymore in a life that I thought I loved, and it took me a little while to like figure out, hey, like what's going on here. And yeah, when I did, uh, it was, yeah, like I said, taking that first solo trip. So yeah, it was a gradual process. I don't think there was any like specific moment that made me really like flip everything around. But it's just like paying attention and just being mindful of like, what you're going through, what you're feeling, and knowing that like there is something else always out there. Like even now, I'm never going to give up Earth Story, but you know, whatever path you're on, the direction always changes, and you got to be mindful of it. Like you got to
Mm,
watch where you're stepping. Can't get swept away in distractions, which are very easy. But
mm-hmm.
it always changes, and yeah, for me, it's just
Yeah.
about like paying attention.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's important. It's the aspect of change because we live in an ever changing world. That's the whole world that we live in. Is like it's a uh it doesn't stop. There's always new situations, new paradigms that you can get yourself sucked into. And I think if you're just okay with change, that's important. It's like being um at a state where it's like changeless change. Like that you could totally give up the entire paradigm that you're on right now and just completely jump ship and go and do something else, and that's okay. And I think
Hmm.
that's a whole, getting back to what we talked about before about fear. That's a part of being fearless, is just being okay with just taking life how it comes, and just kind of rolling with the punches, and just being able to switch up, because that is the problem. Is I think, at least speaking from personal experiences, for me, I've always wanted stability. I think that's what a lot of people want. We want some kind of stability, because stability somewhat translates to safety, and we all want to be safe. Everybody wants
Hmm.
to be safe and not get hurt, right? But I think that's just an illusion. I don't think, like, safety and stability can be easily swept up from you at any second. And we all saw that this year with the pandemic. Like, I think it was a wake up call for people, like, oh, this world isn't as stable as I thought it was. And yeah, what I'm trying to get at? I'm trying to say it's just an important aspect of anybody's being to be able to handle change and just go with change. And that's kind of like being in the flow, in the way, in the Tao of life, is just
Hmm.
being able to ride to and fro with whatever is going on in your life. Everybody's different, but if you just don't resist the change, I think it can make you a lot happier. I mean, it makes me a lot happier, that's for sure. Like, that's a huge realization that I come to. It's like, well, I don't really, I'm not going to try and resist, go this way or this way, and kind of just go with my intuition, go with the flow, and just listen to the part of myself that isn't necessarily the voice in my head, if that makes sense. It's the
Hmm.
part of me that sends messages, that goes beyond words, and that tells me, like, I should do this, I should reach out to X person, or say some, I don't know, like, do certain motion, just do something different with my life, like take a certain action that goes beyond that Anthony Bourdain devil on your shoulder that's telling
Yeah.
you, like, you shouldn't do this, or you're a bad person, or you're not worthy of doing X or Y or Z. And just kind of knowing it's there, but also listening to, like I said, that I think it's intuition is the word I'm looking for. It's just being able to listen to that silent messenger that we all have. Is a great guide. And if you follow that guide, it'll lead you to happiness and purpose. And who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Yeah. Intuition's such a massive part of life. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, definitely. I'm a pretty big into Taoism myself, and find it like the only philosophy, just because it encapsulates everything that allows me to like make some sense of the world, in
Hmm.
just the fact that like the world doesn't have to make sense. It just is. And
Yeah.
I can accept that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting, it feels like riding some sort of like line between two rifts, like having this manifestation, working hard mindset, but also have that Wu Wei, if you're familiar with the term Wu Wei, the mindset of inaction, of action through inaction, and just
Mm-hmm.
like letting things happen as they do, or letting, just riding that wave, riding the flow. And so yeah, it's been I mean, it sounds like a paradox, and it feels like one in my head, like striving really, really hard for things, but at the same time, like, yeah, just going with the feelings that come up that feel natural. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing, is like, don't don't get in your own way. Like, don't let that voice inside your head get in the way of you as a human, but don't let the human that's easy at justifying comfort cling on to like intuition as an excuse to not do something. And I find
Mm.
myself like kind of tipping to both sides, especially the past few years. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's been a journey recently.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Like, you don't want to be too much of a hippie.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But then you also
Yeah.
don't want to be too much of like a workaholic. So you have to be meet
Right.
somewhere in the middle.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
balancing act.
You don't want to find yourself storming the Capitol wearing a buffalo skin and
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
you're here to liberate the country, or maybe you do. I don't know. I'm not going to judge you,
yeah.
but
I'm not
somebody
into
will.
that, but yeah, maybe if somebody else, just don't hurt anybody.
Yeah, don't hurt anybody. Yeah,
Mm,
it's yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I've always considered myself a highly like spiritual person, whatever that word means now, and like seeing stuff like that in the news, or just like, and like, whether or not anybody out there like believes in one conspiracy theory or all of them, like, I think in the spiritual community there's a lot of different not necessarily tribes forming, but like you're seeing people with very, very out there ideas. And it's like, at least for me, force myself to like look at that and be like what part of that is me, because I considered myself as part of that group, festivals and hippies and psychedelics, which I love all of those. And it's been interesting to like disassociate myself from being a hippie or being a festival kid, or spiritualist, being a meditator. I meditate every day, but I kind of realize I don't want to be known as like a meditator, or like I don't want to have any particular identity. Even with
and
travel, like
yeah.
I talked about that in that 2020 20 lessons video, and I was like, yeah, the identity thing it can be really problematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean because like you want to be known for your work, right, rather than your practice in a way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, definitely the work, but I would say like more of just I don't ever want to like put myself into a box where like
Oh, okay, yeah.
like, oh, I'm doing this because I believe in this particular set of beliefs. And
Mm-hmm.
ever since traveling, like, I guess being a more left leaning, like open minded, uh, whatever that means too, kind of
Mm-hmm.
person, uh, in the beginning, like put me at odds with a lot of people that I was like talking to. And then when I decided, like, you know what, I'm just gonna like, yeah, in that case, go with the flow and just listen to people and not really like worry about talking about what I think or what I believe. And I found my beliefs were changed so much more rapidly, like when I just listened and
Mm-hmm.
listened to a lot of different kinds of people, and yeah, just like felt a lot more free to explore or talk, or just explore thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So you meditate every day?
Yeah, yeah, at least 10 minutes, 10
That's
minutes every
awesome.
day. Yeah, yeah, it's I don't know, if it's doing anything, but I like it. So
Exactly. That's the only thing you need to know. It's not really doing anything. I think if you do something to get something out of it, then you're missing the point, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, there's it's just so serene, so like puts me in such a zenful state.
Oh,
And
actually, this is I wanted to talk to you about your isolation tank video and your
okay.
journey with that because I think that's actually how I discovered your videos. Or
Oh,
I don't know. It
really?
was one of the first ones that I watched, and I used to be a I used to do it once a week too, and you did it weekly, right?
It was a little bit more than once a week. I think it was like every like 5 days or somewhere between that for like a month.
Mm-hmm. Um, what did you? All right. So, what was your first experience like with it? And or just can you describe like how the isolation tank helped you, or kind of insights you got from it, or just anything about it really?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing, it destroyed my hair because of the the salt content, but that's worth it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would say that like having uh, that regular floating experience, you can just like go so much deeper. Like once your body kind of like settles into that experience and like you're doing it week after week after week, I found myself going to like places that I never knew or I forgot even existed. And so, are you allowed to talk about drugs on your podcast? Can you?
100%.
Anything goes. Cool, cool.
Yes.
So yeah, this is beautiful about the independent creation. So I was
Yes, we
like
can talk about
sober for
whatever.
hell yeah. I was sober for like all every time except the last, and I kind of like did that by design. And I like did a lot of ketamine on that very last float, and yeah, I was just like remembering things from when I was 5 years old or 7 years old that I mean, I can't remember the last time I remembered it or if I had at all. It was just, yeah, it was incredible. I think I lived through my entire life, obviously with a much different time perception, but, just like relived everything and just came to such a, I don't know, deep and like personal place within my own being. And the ketamine was really, I mean, I know a lot of people use it for trauma and PTSD therapy, and everyone carries some sort of trauma and PTSD within them from childbirth, even
Yeah.
I would say.
Hmm.
Uh, and
Or
so that
past
was
lives.
past lives. Yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah, yeah. Lives in other dimensions, concurrent lives,
Yeah,
if we're
exactly.
getting past time.
Yeah.
Um, it was yeah, it was just so crazy to like see my entire life from a third party perspective. That last float,
And that
and
was your last one. Did you decide like you didn't need any more? So like you got the message and you hung up the phone?
no, I mean, I would totally do it again. I unfortunately, I think they're all closed right now because
Yeah,
of the
probably.
pandemic. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, that was just how it worked out. Like I traded that video for just being able to float for all those times in that like month span, and they got the video out of it, basically like promoting their flotation therapy center.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
What do you
what
think
was
it
your
is about it?
experience?
Oh man. I don't know, man. It was so the first few times for me were hard to get used to physically and actually let go, because it's just a weird feeling to have no feeling. It's a weird sensation that nobody's used to kind of almost be in space, to not have that, to be able to fully let go all tension in your body with no contact is a very, it seems it's very simple and it seems like a simple process, but to actually fully let go like tension in your neck and shoulders and be able to just disconnect from our senses. It took me probably maybe 2 or 3 times, and then on the third or fourth time, I got to that point of just like complete. And I think you said it in your video. It's like the closest thing to coming to death. And I said that in my head. I'm like, well, is this what it's like possibly to be dead? And I'm like, might be. I'm like, no, it seems peaceful. And then from there, I was like, well, I'm gonna just like, if it's peaceful, if it's this peaceful, I can't really be scared. So it honestly, it sounds morbid, but it kind of made me more comfortable with the idea of a, a death that is the void in a way. Even though I don't necessarily believe in that, but like just that peace that comes along with it really gave me a sense of I don't know, just a different perspective to view my existence. And it seems so simple to just float in a saltwater bath, right? You're like, what are you talking about? But it is. John C. Lilly was on to something, man. Because all right, so the truth lies beyond our five senses, right? The unspeakable truth that we can all agree on, the collective unconscious, that kind of lies beyond concept, it lies beyond our senses. It's something that connects us all, that goes beyond anything that I could ever say, write, or show you. But it's there at all times. Like, it's something that connects me and you, and it's something that we can reach. Everybody can reach that kind of state. And it's like, I always like to say, you open the door, and then once you open the door, you don't close it, right? It's kind of like a realization, something that, that we're all one, right? Cliche saying, but it's true. But in my opinion, in order to reach that state, it's not something that I can just go, okay, I'm there, unless maybe you take large amounts of ketamine or some kind of psychedelic substance in a way. But either way, you have to do something in order to get to that kind of state of mind, right? So float tanks allow you to dissolve the one of the toughest boundaries to dissolve, and that's our senses. And like, like, it's hard to reach that interconnectivity and all is one kind of mindset if you're stuck in wanting to fulfill your desire for your hunger, or like a sexual desire, or wanting to watch a TV show or fulfill some kind of need, right? In order to come to that kind of just something, I don't know what it is. It's, I guess you could say, an awakening experience. I don't even want to dub it that, though, or enlightening experience, but it's not. It's more so than that. It's just kind of, it's like, connected. It's feeling connected to the world and everybody else in the world, and knowing that you're a part of this entire process. And it just, like I said, goes beyond words. It's just like feeling the magnitude of what your life really is. And it's a beautiful feeling that, like I said, you have to get there by certain means. And the float tank allows us to get there seemingly in a very quick amount of time, in a very effective method, by simply, like, really, like, literally, and I don't know any other way, like, getting rid of our senses, right? For the most part, like, there's still, like, you can feel the water, but it's like the quickest way to sober, or maybe unsober, put your mind in the void. And then once you can get into the void, you can explore the parts of your brain and your mind that are usually unexplored. And in order to be able to go into those regions of our mind that are usually untapped, we have to do crazy things like psychedelics, or the float tank, or whatever, yoga, tai chi, or whatever it is. Be creative, like paint a picture, or get in the zone when you're making a video, whatever it is. There's certain avenues and aspects and practices that allow us to touch upon that thing, that it's like this feeling of knowing that you're connected. And I don't think you always have to be there and reside in that state of feeling, of that connectivity, because I don't because then if you're always feeling that feeling of interconnectivity, um the game loses its pizzazz in a way. So we have to have that separation, but it's nice to be able to know that we can go there and other people can reach that state. I was talking to somebody today and he called it the other world, and I'm like, it is, I mean, it is kind of like another world, like not physically, but in our head, it's like another world that we can touch upon that a lot of people don't even know it's there. And it's not like another dimension where there's monsters coming out with two heads and just like forming. I mean, there is like that psychedelic aspect, but it's more than that. It's just knowing your place, what it means to be a human being. And the float tank allowed me to do that. And it's not really necessarily the float tank. It's just meditation in general that allowed me to do
Mhm.
that. The float tank is just a very effective way for meditation. It's just like, if there's an optimal way, in my opinion, to meditate, it's the float tank.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, I miss it. I haven't done it in a long time. I definitely need to get back into it, because ultimately, um, if you want to just get rid of what the previous paragraph that I just said, um, the biggest thing that anybody can get from it is it's really relaxing.
So relaxing.
It
Yeah.
makes me just like, I get out of it. I'm just like, the whole day I'm just chill, and I just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, life's good. Like, I feel good physically, mentally, spiritually. Like, it's just
Yeah.
a really, really good feeling. Other
Yeah.
than, the whole far out woo woo aspect that I kind of touched upon. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's therapeutic.
No, and it's totally true though, like I mean everything is connected, and anytime you get those transcendental experiences to remind you, hey, like you're much more than just a body. It's
Hmm.
yeah, I mean it's always incredible, and it's definitely what keeps me going every day. But like, I think you're totally right about the void thing. Like there were so many times in the float tank that I was like, I don't know if I'm sleeping or if I'm awake. Like I remember so many experiences where I forgot that I was even conscious, but I was still aware of that lack of consciousness. And it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was so confusing, but like in a really, really awesome way.
Mm. Yeah. I think it's okay to be confused. You
I think
know,
that's the best place to be. Yeah.
it's okay to not know. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like when you go into your depths of your unconscious mind, you realize how much you really don't know about yourself and the world and anything else that's going on in your head. And you can either resist it or you can just be like me. And I'm just like, I don't, my head, I don't know clue what's going on in there. Like, I'll explore it and see what's going on. I might be a little uncomfortable with some of the things that we all got skeletons in our closet and, like you said, repressed memories from childhood or trauma, but we need to, in order to get over those things, confront that. And things such as meditation and these practices or psychedelics, whatever it is, allow us to be able to confront those things, settle yourself with those things, forgive yourself, forgive whatever happened in your mind, and move past it. And that's how we grow. But you're not gonna get to that point of growth if you're just constantly sucked into this thing all day, because this isn't up here, this is out here. We all need to go within to be able to create a better world. It really starts with us. It sounds corny and cliche, but
It does. It totally does.
it's the truth. Like, change
Yeah.
really comes from within, and it starts with just disconnecting. And it sounds ironic because, like, whoever's listening to this right now is listening to the podcast, but like, honestly, like, if anybody's listening to this, do yourself a favor and, just try and disconnect, put the electronics down for a little bit. Maybe read a book, find a quiet corner, do some guided meditation. You'll do yourself good. And don't I think a lot of people too, I'm guilty of it, I'm speaking from experience, are afraid of what's going on in their head, and afraid of the unconscious demons that are lurking, that might tell us we're a bad person, or might tell us that you did something wrong, or X, Y, and Z. When ultimately, when you go through these experiences, you realize that none of those demons that we hold, or skeletons in our closet that we hold, are gonna hurt us, gonna hurt our true being. Like, there's nothing that can really ever hurt you, no matter how scary or daunting you think these thoughts are in your head, that are telling you you're not worthy enough, or you can't do this. Those are just falsities, man. Like, and you fully realize that when you go through experiences of the float tank and these transcendental things, because it shows us who we really are. We're living in a time of amnesia where we don't know where we are because the outside world doesn't tell us who we are. When if we explore our inner mind and we see what we're not our thoughts, we're not these crazy ass, what are thoughts? I don't know. We're not them. I just know that, like, our true being, our true essence deep down is a lot greater. And my whole point to that is, yeah, like, you have to take time for yourself to truly realize that. And I could say that, but no one would realize that just by my words. It's really an experiential. It's something that is personal. It's a subjective truth that we can all reach, but it really takes work. It takes effort that you have to put into whatever it is in your being. I don't know. I can't say what it
Yeah.
is for anybody else. Like, it's different for everybody. But it
Yeah.
starts with exploration, creativity, meditation, stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah, you got to take the time to explore why you're doing things and what's in there, because I mean, you might be scared of like the awareness of the skeletons in your closet, but they're there regardless, and
Exactly.
they're hurting you whether you think of them or not.
Mm-hmm.
So stop being don't sweep it under the rug. Just clean it up and accept it, relive. I mean, that's the only way to clear trauma, is you have to like acknowledge it, relive it, and release it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, people are afraid to do that. I mean, I think everybody is, it's like a
Yeah.
defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And but the more we can like meet these experiences with courage and just observing yourself as if from like an outside perspective and being sensitive to like anything that comes up and the emotions, I don't know, it's worked for me. Worked for me so far.
Yeah. I like how you said observe yourself from an outside perspective, because it's like it's a way to essentially see yourself in a different light, because that's all we really are, is just a rep. I'm just a representation on a screen right now to somebody. To you, I'm just like an image. But I have to like first go outside of my mind and see that other people are seeing me like that. And I think if you can approach your own life as the hero's journey, uh you can create an amazing life like that. You can just it's a way to put yourself in, like you said, make your life like a movie, make yourself the main character. um because that's what we're living, man. We're living a story. It's like somewhere between a game, a story, and a play. And in the play, we're the audience, in the play at the same time, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we're all of it. We're all of it. I mean, I know like, and this is such like an explicit example. In I do longsword fencing, and the only way that you can get better is to film. It's like weightlifting or whatever, or anything, right? Anything physical. You film yourself. You watch your technique, because you have no idea what you're doing in that moment when you're trying to like spar with somebody, and it's not until like seeing yourself physically from that third person perspective that you can like be like, oh, okay, like I see that I don't know, hitting too slow here, or not lifting my arms enough. And I think that's the only way to really be able to like analyze and improve
Yeah.
anything. And so it's
Hmm.
something I try to bring into like every aspect of my life. Like I mean, I have days that are like free flowing, but often I'll just like, I list everything down, morning to nighttime, what I want to do. And if I'm not meeting that, or if I'm like choosing to do something else, I'm like, okay, like why did the human Troy decide to like skip his calendar and go watch a third YouTube video or something? And yeah, that's been pretty effective.
It's a skill. It really is. It's like a superpower in a way to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, everything in life is a skill, and it's always great to build more skills. Like you're a night elf or something. I always try and like gamify everything in real life, and it's just so fun to just kind of think of like, hey, like where am I improving my stats or learning new spells? Like how do we like ar- archetypify every aspect of our being.
Mm.
I don't know if you're like into like Jungian psychology or anything, but that's where like the hero's journey comes from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
there's this excellent book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and it kind of just dives into the archetypes of what are the archetypes of these four primary masculine or feminine archetypes, and like how is that relating to your own life. And I mean, I definitely think like seeing yourself and your fellow humans in the framework of archetypes or heroes or whatever you want to call them is like such a powerful way to view life. And I would wager that you wouldn't find yourself in, or people wouldn't find themselves in as many positions that they don't want to be in. Obviously, there's some major powers at play in the world. There's some people who are like seriously just stomped upon, but I think putting everything in that framework, especially living in the Western world where we have like so much at our disposal, can lend a lot of power and kind of just like makes you question what's my mission, like
Mm.
what is my ultimate mission, as if uh I don't know, I were Frodo or Harry.
Yeah. Well, you're Troy Ozuna.
Troy Ozuna. Hopefully we'll see what happens, but hopefully we'll go down in history next to those names.
Frodo,
Yeah.
Aragon.
There we
Luke
go.
Skywalker and Troy
Yeah.
Ozuna.
Yeah. Oh wow. I don't think I'm worthy to be up there with them actually on second thought. It just sounds weird.
We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see,
we'll
man.
see. We'll see.
Well, I mean, I don't really, have anything else to ask you. I think that's a good point to end it on. Do you have anything else you'd like to get off your chest with this?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, just reach out to whoever's listening, reach out to your fellow humans. We all have so much work to do emotionally when relating to other people. And man, there's like so much power in just being kind, listening to people as best as you can, and being kind to yourself too. That's like
Hmm.
the biggest thing. Don't be too tough on yourself.
That's where it
And
starts.
watch Earth Story, youtube.com/Earth Story, or just type in Earth Story into the search bar, and it should be the first channel that pops up.
Definitely, man. I'll put everything in the description for anyone that's listening. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on. This was pretty cool. You're a cool guy. Keep doing your
Thank you,
thing.
bro.
Keep
Thank you so
fighting the good
much.
fight. And yeah, keep spreading the vibes. I love it, man.
Yeah, you as well, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you for having me on. It was an honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Troy. I appreciate it. And yeah, I hope all is well in your what's next for Troy? What do you got next planned?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go to New Zealand and New York City for I think a month. Andrew Yang announced his mayoral run, so I want to go to NYC for June when the primaries start and help out with that campaign. I'm a huge believer in universal basic income, and I think that will unlock so much creativity with people. So
Hmm.
I'm willing to try something new, even if it crashes the economy, whatever. But the main thing is I'm moving to New Zealand for I think at least 3 years because I want to go be on the stunt team for the Lord of the Rings show, which is why I'm practicing
That's
sword
great.
choreography and fighting. And after that, who knows? But never know where life will take you.
That's yeah. Honestly, you never know. Just gotta go with the flow, man.
Go with the flow. Exactly.
I wish you luck in your Lord of the Rings endeavor, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. My 9-year-old self would really be proud.
That's funny. All right, man. Well, yeah. Thanks again, and yeah, peace out.
Mu-
Appreciate it.
Much love, buddy. Thank you.